Welcome to the Find My Catalyst podcast. We all have problems we're looking to solve, and we know that there are solutions out there, but we struggle with this. How do we find the solution? Where does that nudge come from to help us take the next step and start solving tough problems? This podcast is designed to help you find your catalyst and take that next step. This episode is brought to you by the first edition of Golf and Sales, and I've actually brought a couple of friends on, partners in Golf and Sales, Scott Leese, Larry Long Jr., and Jeff Bajorek, to talk a bit about the event that we have coming up later this year. It's actually coming up here in just a couple of weeks. The first edition of Golf and Sales will take place in Austin on April 19th through the 22nd. April 19th through the 22nd. There's still a couple of slots left. If you'd like to learn more, go to golfandsales.com. Let's get to the conversation. We are together talking about community, golf, sales, business. I just want to go around the room and just say, why is community important to you? And let's start with you, Bajorek.
I think you learn better when you learn together. I think a lot of people talk about storytelling and how people relate to it. I don't think there's any more relatable story than someone sitting right next to you, looking you right in the eye, telling you where they're stuck or sharing with you how they got unstuck. And to put a small group of people together who are willing to commit to spending some time together, sharing stories like that. I don't think there's anything more powerful in the business world.
And Scott, I know learning is very important to you. How does learning change when you're around a small group versus being around a large group?
Well, I think in a large group, it's easy to kind of hang out and hide out and avoid the message and avoid going super deep. In a big, huge crowd, you might be really far away from the person delivering content, let alone get a chance to interact with them one-on-one. In a small group, there's nowhere to hide. If there's 10, 20 people in the room, you are participating whether you want to or not. And that it kind of forces some of that engagement, and you can't just, hide away. And that person delivering the content is right there and accessible to you, not just during the delivery of the content, but before, afterwards, in the days to come, depending on what kind of event you're at. And so that type of interaction is far less likely to occur in a huge kind of event setting.
And Larry, I know you're investing a lot in events and doing different things with the National Speakers Association and a couple of other groups. Like, what do you get out of going to events?
It's two things. And you mentioned one of them. It's the content. The most important one for me is the community and the relationships. So, I've heard from a gentleman who said, hey, the difference between contacts, people and contracts, people you do business with, is the letter R, and that R is relationships. You can't beat true, genuine relationships and connections personally as well as professionally. So that's what gets me excited, is the relationships.
I'm going to throw two more C's out there. One, because I just got off a cruise where I was with a small group doing something similar, which was really cool.
Top secret operations in the South Pacific, I think, is that what we were laughing at you about?
And actually, we were in the Caribbean. However, it's insane when you not only do you have the stuff that happens in the margin in the hallways when you're at a hotel, but when you're on a cruise ship, there's not really any place to go. So there's this amazing opportunity to engage with people and get really deep into things that you didn't really expect to get into. So that was one C. The other C is, as you talk about communication or community, is context. And the context of the thing that we're all excited about is golf. So how about golf? Like, Larry, how'd you stumble into golf?
Come on now, quiet, please.
I have never seen you. You have never been quiet a day in your life. I cannot imagine how you're walking around with a quiet sign.
Oh, man. Started playing golf in 1999, shot a 155. It's been all downhill, but uphill since then. I love the game. You talk about the opportunity to get to know someone. You talk about the opportunity to challenge yourself, you against yourself. It's absolutely amazing. And it's similar to sales, which is why I'm excited about going on this journey with y'all, as well as other folks that we're going to be bringing in. Just so much to learn. And I call it a signature experience. Last year was all about signature experiences. This is going to be a memory to last a lifetime, because of the learnings, the connections, and just the overall experience.
What goes into experience?
Oh, goodness gracious. What you just talked about a cruise. I like that little humble brag, but it's just the memories, I don't know the Webster's dictionary definition, but for me, it's just the all encompassing, that feeling of wow. Like, I don't know what kind of definition that is, but wow.
Scott, you and I both went to Arizona State University. I can't remember the last time I opened up a dictionary. How about you? So you actually broke 80 recently, which is this kind of white whale for me that I've been chasing, which Bajorek knows that's just in my head. But how about you? How'd you get into golf?
I honestly got into golf because my body started breaking down and I couldn't play all the other sports that I used to play. And it was just like this old man kind of sport that I didn't have to work as hard at. You know, yeah, Larry is going to show up with an entire suitcase full of props. So that's my favorite part, I think, that I'm looking forward to. But that's how I got into it. Top. You know, and it is very similar for me. It's very similar to tennis, which is a solo sport and beyond frustrating, meaning it is all mental. You can have all the physical attributes that you want, but really the game is happening in between your ears. And so, you know, I started playing golf. I'm like, oh my God, this is harder than tennis. This is more frustrating than tennis. How can I not just hit the ball straight? And now it's just like, you know, it becomes a challenge mentally to push yourself to stay focused for 4 hours. We have like a 6-second attention span. How the hell am I supposed to stay focused for 4 hours? So that's what is exciting to me about it now is just like, I see it as a mental challenge and a good way to get outside and get a tiny wee bit of exercise for this old body.
So you walk the course now?
No, I drive.
Come on, man. That's how you get the exercise part in there. Jeff,
no, I'm still passing 10,000 steps even when I'm on the cart. Maybe that's a bad sign because it shows you how far I got to walk to get the ball usually.
A little Army golf. Jeff, so connect the dots here between golf and sales. Like what does golf have to do with sales?
Well, I think Larry and Scott both alluded to it. I think you look at the challenge, you look at the practice, you look at the focus that's required. You look at, you know, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that you can do everything right and still lose. And sometimes it's because the course and the weather conditions conspire against you. And sometimes you go out and shoot 68 and you think you did enough to win, and someone gets red hot and just shoots 63. And sometimes the universe, the golf gods kind of just conspire against you sometimes. You really have to mentally appreciate that, roll with it, and realize that even though you had a good day today, it just wasn't your day, but it'll be your day if you keep showing up. And, you know, I talk a lot about the mental ups and downs of selling. Nothing for me anyway has I guess personified that the same way my experience on the golf course has. And it's playing, it's competing, it's practicing, it's thinking about it, it's reading about it, it's in being engulfed in and steeped in that kind of environment. I mean, I have gone absolutely crazy for this sport over the last 16, 17 years or so. Similar to Scott, you know, I realized that I was not going to be able to play baseball for much longer, and I could play golf for a long time, and I clearly could not do both at the same time. So there was a passing of the athletic torch, so to speak, for me. But like, just there's nothing better to me than just going out and trying to dig some kind of answer for yourself out of the dirt. And that's selling, that's leadership, that's management, that's family stuff, that's relationship stuff, that's life stuff, man. And that's the biggest parallel for me.
And it's cool when you go out there and you can play with a couple of people, because you get an opportunity to just talk and play and deal with the same ups and downs. The thing I love about the game is the immediate feedback that you get. Like, there's nothing more immediate. You know, you think about touching a stove and then saying, okay, well, I'm not going to touch that stove or again because it was really hot. But you know when you hit a shot how it felt, and you also see what the ball ended up doing. My kind of journey around golf was I'm going to go ahead and muscle my way around the game. I'm just going to power my way through this thing and hit the ball as far as I can go and then hit it the next time. And then after playing a lot, I got to the point where it's like, this is just going to frustrate the hell out of me. If I'm just going to sit here and just beat up golf balls, to then now where I'm at is a bit more of like this Zen meditative approach where my focus is complete lack of focus. It's just completely quieting my mind from the point where I start that pre-shot routine. And I struggle with that, but it becomes meditative for me. And it's similar to my journey in sales. At first it was like, oh, well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to pitch and I'm going to tell you all about this stuff. And then you realize, no, actually, if you kind of let it go and listen and be kind of one with the people that you're engaging with, there's some really cool things that can happen. So we're going to bring a group of people together and let's talk about golf and sales. Where can people find more about, where do we want to send people to find more about golf and sales?
golfandsales.com seems like a good place to start. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm going to give you guys hell because the amount of times you say, hey, what's the website again? And I'm like, guys, can you send me that link again? I'm like, no, I refuse to send you that link. No. That's where we're starting. We've got a little kind of a landing page set up right now. I think that'll grow into something a little bit more substantial. And you know, that's where you can find out the information. Of course, you can just contact any of the four of us if you want to learn more. But I mean, the trip is pretty simple. We play a couple of rounds of golf. We put some content there to seed some conversations. But the idea is to get outside, like Scott mentioned, like Larry mentioned, like you mentioned, get outside, get out of your environment, get out of your rut of your day to day. And, you know, it's like that whole thing. You have your best thoughts when you're in the shower because you're not locked into something. You're busy doing something else, and it's part of a different kind of routine. And so your best thoughts come when you're not trying to think about thinking something serious, right? So get outside with some other people who are putting themselves in the same creative space. And it seems a little woo-woo to say, well, just trust that something great is going to happen. But I've never been in a situation like this where something great didn't happen before. And I've never talked to anybody who will argue with that. So come join us and appreciate the serendipity of being in a room with a dozen or so other people who are trying to create the same thing as you, trying to tackle the same challenges, trying to give themselves a break. And Scott, I'll leave it to you to talk about, you know, the power of really unplugging, because what you've done with Surf and Sales, I think, has over delivered on what a lot of those attendees were even expecting. But like, trust that process, trust that part of the process, and come and watch and experience magic happening.
Well said.
Scott, what
I got my cookie for the day. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm stumbling around the next question. I guess the next, like, who, you know, what if I'm not a golfer? What if I enjoy the game? I want to pick up the game, but
That's a great question.
maybe I'm brand new to this game, and
Well, you can ride in the car with Larry then, because he should shoot a 155 right alongside you.
And we'll make sure you're the last group out, so you don't hold up the rest of us. But
well, and when we do it, we're going to play best ball, right? We're going to do scramble. So Jeff knows all the details behind all the format type stuff.
That takes a lot. That takes a lot of the pressure off. You know, if you're worried about having to be really, really good, I mean, every single shot, 4 people are going to hit, and whichever one was the best, that's the one you'll play. So you don't have to worry about being the best golfer of all time. You might hit a couple shots over the course of the day that get played that are better than anybody else's, and hey, you did your part. It's not about trying to shoot, you know, some crazy low score. It's about just getting out there and doing something that is a lot of fun and interacting with a bunch of really smart people in intimate ways that we don't normally get a chance to, you know. How many of you guys have I ever met face to face? Just Mike.
Science. Yeah.
Right. So Mike and I have had a chance to meet, spend a little bit of time together. I've never talked to Larry, let alone for 4 hours over the course of a golf game. I've never met Jeff, let alone over the course of a couple days, rounds of golf and all that kind of thing. I have to believe, and I do believe, and this is what makes surf and sales and golf and sales so powerful. You put very smart, motivated people together in the room, metaphorically, in an amazing environment without the normal kind of pressures of work and family and all this kind of stuff. And you talk about creativity and ideas and mind share and motivation and all this kind of stuff. That's what makes these kind of things special. You know, I just simply refuse to believe that I could spend time over the course of a couple of days with a dozen, 2 dozen super smart people and not walk away better and knowing something in terms of the direction that I want to take my life and my career. That's the power of it.
Yeah, it's super powerful when you're around people who have just done some of the things that you want to do or are going through some of the things that you've just gone through, because it creates an opportunity. And Dewan Brown talks about this in the context of learn, teach, learn. There's this cycle that happens when you can engage with others who are going through things that you remember, and now you create an opportunity to reflect and help them. And is always somebody around in that group who has worked through one of the challenges you're working through. So really powerful stuff when you bring a group together. Larry, you look like you're getting ready to say something.
Always. I mean, Jeff's talking about 68, 63s. I'm like, okay. And then I go to the back nine, but it's going to be an awesome just experience. Once again, collaboration, the mind share of being around brilliant people. I'm excited to get out of my comfort zone. And when I'm on a golf course, believe you me, I'm out of my comfort zone. I wish I had a baseball bat. It'd be a little bit better. But shoot, I'm Tiger's cousin. Larry hit it in the woods. But I'm just super excited. Like Scott said, never met him in person. Jeff, never met him in person. Mike, we've shared the experience of playing golf. So you know how wacky my golf game is, kind of like I am. But I'm excited about the collaboration. I'm excited about the opportunity to learn. Who knows what comes about? And as I look back and reflect on last year, some of my best learnings have come from the NSA conventions. I had an opportunity to go to a content house in Atlanta. I was on a bus trip with some sales trainers that we all know and love. Just those learnings, those experiences, like Scott said, it's almost impossible to come out of that not a better person. You would actually have to try and pretty much say, I'm not going to learn anything from this experience to not get the value out of it. And if you come in with an open mind, if you come in with the spirit of, I'm going to make the most out of this situation and this experience, in the words of the great philosopher, J.J. Walker, that's right.
I don't know if we touched on this enough, Mike, when you brought up the golf handicap. You don't need to be a player to show up. You just got to be willing to show up and have fun. And I know, we've seen that with the people who have signed up to come already. They like to play, but they really don't care so much about what their score is. I'm not worried about your golf handicap. What's your creativity handicap? What's your fun handicap? What's your wisdom handicap? What are those things that you can do to contribute to this group? It's kind of interesting to say that, this is a golf and sales trip, but it's really not about golf. I mean, it's about golf, but it's not really about the golf. I mean, it's that can throw some people off, but it's about the arena in which we get to create and collaborate. And, there's new connections that are going to be made. There's community that's being built around this already. It's just, I think in a weird way, it's kind of stereotypical, like, oh, go figure, you find a bunch of salespeople, on a golf course. But I think this is a different look and a different spin on that cliche, if you will. And I don't think we can talk enough about the fact that it's about connection and collaboration and community and accountability and things like that I think we're all realizing more and more coming, through these last few years, that we need that. And there aren't enough corporate experiences that really provide that. And so we're in a position where we can create that opportunity for other people to take advantage of. And I think it's really powerful.
I invest in events like this for myself and go and participate in them. Because it's like a mini retreat for me. I get an opportunity to get out of my day to day, get out of my house space, go into another environment and think, reflect, engage, learn, communicate, share, like all of these things. And if you're out there looking for that retreat that's different than what you do when you do it inside your organization or what you maybe have done anywhere else, I can tell you this will be one of those events. And I actually just realized I'm the only person in this group who's actually met everybody in person in this group, which is kind of cool. And you guys still keep me included in this, which is even more fascinating. If you know of someone who is working on becoming a better leader, is looking to find new ways to grow revenue inside their organization, wants to learn through the power of community and through the power of both learning from that community and sharing with that community, please share this episode with them and let us know via Twitter or LinkedIn. You can tag Larry, Jeff, Scott, or me in that post. You can also share golfandsales.com as the URL to go to. Sales is a thinking process. Business is a thinking process. Life is a thinking process. How are you thinking differently about your process? And we actually have a couple of more slots left in the first edition of Golf and Sales. The first edition of Golf and Sales will take place in Austin on April 19th through the 22nd. April 19th through the 22nd. There's still a couple of slots left. If you'd like to learn more, go to golfandsales.com or connect with any of the four of us. Thank you.